Got it. Just looks like it's loading. Perfect. I think we are set up now. Yes, we are. Let's go like this. Click back to Zoom. Where are there? Cool. And I'm going to pull this up on my pull up the Facebook group on my computer just so I can see any chats coming in as well.
Yep, sounds great.
Nice. All right, I think, yeah, looks like we are all set. So I'm in a place where I can see if anyone makes any comments, all that good stuff. So yeah, we're ready to rock and roll. Welcome everybody in our Facebook group here. I got Dr. Keegan Hadley or Hadley?
Hadley, yep.
Hadley, that's what I figured. Okay, Dr. Keegan Hadley here, who is like a kind of is handler known as the ACL therapist, but that's not his, like, we're not going to be talking just about the ACL in particular. We're kind of talking about all injuries and recurring pains and the mental and emotional side of it. Dr. Keegan is a doctor of occupational therapy, and he specializes in the psychology of sports injury. Keegan, feel free, say hi. I'd love to also give you kind of a quick opportunity to tell the group about yourself and your background, what got you into this whole industry and focus on health.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here with you, Madison, but also the larger group overall. So essentially, my background was I was a football player for approaching 2 decades. I played through college and briefly afterward, and through that time I tore both of my ACLs. It required 4 surgeries in total, and actually what I noticed through my time with those injuries and sports overall was I almost struggled more with the psychological or emotional side of the injuries, more so even than the physical aspect, because I always would kind of bounce back somehow reasonably quickly physically, but would always have hurdles with the various psychological challenges that would come up, just due to the injuries. The ACL is kind of what I specialized in, not necessarily because that's the only clientele I deal with, but it is the, longest rehabilitation period generally that, most athletes see. And so I deal a lot with ACL injuries, Achilles injuries, and just anyone who's having pain for an extended period of time that can really affect their, whether it's their sport, their daily activities, or even, potentially their work. So yeah, that's kind of my overarching background in the area.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. Well, I appreciate you filling us in on kind of your personal background with it. I think a number of people in our group can relate personally to serious knee injuries, and especially the ACL and the recovery process. But we've got a lot of clients that have been, I should say a lot of members to our group that are dealing with everything from like recurring back pain and back injuries and back surgeries that have lasted years and sometimes decades plus, and not to mention other areas of the body like shoulders and neck and feet and toes and all that kind of stuff, and all of I think all of us that deal with or have dealt with chronic pain or recurring injuries that take us out of the rhythms of our daily life and what we love to do. Like, we all can kind of relate to how that affects us on that mental emotional side. So I'm looking forward to diving into this a little bit. I wanted to actually kind of kick us off with asking you, in terms of the people that you're working with, the patients that you work with, what are the kind of most common thoughts and or worries that you find that people have when they're working through injuries? Like, how does what are they normally thinking? What are they worrying about? How does that affect them?
Yeah, so essentially what I deal with I mean, it's a wide range of stuff I deal with, but as far as just the ones that come up most commonly, it's the loss of self-identity or, self-esteem, because a lot of us, I'll use myself as an example, is I've always struggled with mental health issues. And I use football as kind of my main coping mechanism. We all use, our thing to cope with, the stresses of day-to-day life. So I would, go to football, get kind of the, anxiety out. I would run around and hit some people and stuff like that. And when that was, taken away rather quickly, just from a, small ligament tear or, back pain or whatever the case may be, it really takes away your only coping mechanism that many of us have developed. So once that's gone, you're kind of left to your own devices as far as how you're going to deal with that in a positive way. And most times, unfortunately, it's the first instinct is not to go to the super healthy coping mechanism. So you can really go down a rabbit hole at that point, unfortunately.
Sure. Do you find that it doesn't sound like this necessarily may have been your personal experience because you bounce back physically relatively quickly, but do you find with people that you work with as well that there's an added stress component in the worries or recurring thought patterns of like, will I be able to bounce back from this? Am I going to be able to heal again? Like, and kind of doubting the body's innate abilities to heal, and what's my life going to look like if I can't get back to my sport or my activities or whatever.
Yeah, so I help talk through with acceptance and commitment therapy individuals who are struggling with maybe a transition in their life. Maybe they're just finishing college sports or high school sports, or they just can't get back into competitive weekend sport of some kind. So I do deal with that. But one thing that is been more on top of my mind recently is helping individuals tailor rehabilitation programs or workout programs in general that are challenging them even more so than their activity would. So a lot of times when people have these injuries, again, they're worried, hey, can I even get back to this? Will I ever be the same? Well, a lot of times that's because unfortunately the, return to play, whether that's again for your back or whatever case, it may be, isn't as, difficult. And that in the back of your head is the activity that you're trying to get back into. So, for example, if I was trying to go through a rehab process with myself back, when I would have needed it, I knew, intuitively that the 3-hop test for the ACL, that's your return to play. One of the things you're looking at is 3 hops. Isn't necessarily going to be as, great of a predictor of me lining up across from a 300+ pound guy who might dive at my knees. I mean, you're going to need something a little bit more stringent as far as what you're going through to return to the play. So that's something I've been focusing on more lately, is using, my background in occupational therapy to find kind of the just right fit and challenge them in a way that's moving them closer to their goals with the activity they're trying to return to. So.
Got it. Yeah, I can relate in the ways that we work with our clients, and that they're not a good chunk of people that we work with are athletes looking to return to sport, like a young youth competitive athletes or younger athletes looking to return to sport. But I would say the largest demographic, and by the way, our pleasure, Anna. Thank you for jumping on live. If anyone is on live and you guys have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. I have you guys up in front of me right now, or if you're watching a replay of this, feel free to type in questions. We'll be monitoring these after the fact. We're happy to get back to you guys, or if you have any feedback, all that kind of stuff, the more the merrier. So anyway, so with regards to some of the people that are, I would say, a large demographic of the people that we work with, and a lot of the people that are in our group that we're running this live through, are individuals that are probably more classified as like weekend warriors, like or individuals that just like to be active, like they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, looking to be able to continue to enjoy playing pickleball, or want to be able to continue playing tennis or run, or they want to just hike and do some yoga and garden and all that kind of stuff. But they kind of feel like, am I over the hump? my
Mhm.
body recover from this? And something that my team and I are a big proponent of is finding where our weak links in the chain are, where we're being, where our bodies are breaking down, why, like what's causing it, and then how do we build doable, manageable, safe corrective exercise and mobility programs that like slowly work on improving those activities. And the things that they're strong at, the things that they're capable of, is say, hey, push your body in that, like get your bugs out, get your sweat on, get your be active in those ways. And this other ways, we're going to kind of rebuild it slowly but surely. And like that is, it sounds like what you're saying is kind of a really good strategy to kind of win that mental dialogue of, can I overcome this, is like getting yourself the small wins that can build back up to getting back to the activities we love. Correct?
Yeah. It's all about building momentum, and a lot of times people struggle is because they want to go be able to do, a weekend mountain bike trip that's 25 miles or something, that seems out of reach, but they don't start. You got to crawl before you can walk, and walk before you can run down the mountain. So I mean, it's all about those small wins to lead you toward the overall goal, for sure.
Nice. Well, before you and I had connected, and we talked about like when getting a little bit more practical on like when we're dealing with the stress, when the emotions come up of like it's easy to get these small wins going, but like in day out life, if we take a funky step and the back twinges, or the knee gets irritated, or the neck bothers us when we wake, or when we're sleeping at night, or whatever, when we're getting impacted, it's easy to have the thought patterns come in and to start having the anxiety creep up and the stresses. So I think we were talking about mindfulness as a component to mitigate these responses. So from your perspective, like what is mindfulness as it pertains to physical pain and injuries?
Yeah. So essentially, there seems to be a misconception just about the human condition and life in general, and it seems to me that a lot of people are wanting you to only be happy all the time and in no pain, and unfortunately that's just that's not life. And if we take a couple steps back from that yearning, we'll realize that it's not realistic in any sense. So essentially, mindfulness helps you live with those difficult moments, whether that be pain, difficult thoughts, difficult emotions, in the moment. In a lot of times, especially nowadays, again, where we live in the time of everything is extremely fast paced, and we have 47 different things that are, competing for our attention at any given point in time. So being able to sit with those difficult thoughts or feelings or pains, you'll kind of be able to lessen their impact on you if you're able to sit with them. I'll give you an example. So I have extremely severe anxiety. I've always had it. When I get panic attacks. So mine manifests in my chest. It kind of feels like I'm having a heart attack. So to get used to that, I used to just worry about having a panic attack. I would do anything I had to not have a panic attack, but that would only make it more and more likely that I would have a panic attack. So what I've learned is the more you turn into the difficult feelings, or in my case, it was more of sensations, the less power you're giving them. And for me, I focus on my chest and where the particular feeling is, and it actually lessens over time. Obviously, it's uncomfortable, but there's a lot of things in life that are very uncomfortable. But being able to sit there with the difficult feeling, it does lessen. And then once you have that awareness with your body, you're able to move your awareness down. Personally, I go down to my feet and see, okay, well, now my chest seems to be under control, and I feel my rear end on the chair, or my feet on the ground, and those kinds of things. And then before you know it, you're just kind of back into your normal state of being, unfortunately, through the comfortableness.
So it sounds like basically that how mindfulness, like practices of mindfulness, can be applicable to the stresses and anxieties that occur around physical pains in general. Like you using this as like uh, um, anxiety attack example, but if someone was taking this as like, I have back pain, this has been like, oh, it's come back, I'm like, and I'm, oh my gosh, I'm gonna like, I wonder what's going on, and they start to spin out in their head of what's causing it, what do they do next. The first step is to tune in physically to where you're feeling the emotion, like
Yep.
where it's sensing it. So like in your case, it's tightening of the chest. For me, that's where I tend to feel it when when I get anxious and stressful spikes. Sometimes top of my high stomach region is another area for me, but for others, it might be a totally different spot. But like, it's tuning into that and then just sitting with it, like basically just breathing and sitting with it and allowing it to be, like, it sounds like kind of you're giving it permission to be there in that moment and allow it to naturally dissipate as you're aware of it. Correct?
Yeah, a lot of times people are trying. The metaphor I like to use that Dr. Stephen Hayes uses throughout his teachings is you're driving through life, and imagine yourself in a minivan, and those difficult feelings are your passengers. The more you try to shove them out of the car, the more desperately they're going to cling and become a larger, inconvenience to the drive. If you just sit with them and let them do what they're going to, you'll almost get used to them being there. Not that you want to be used to the pain, but in that moment where things are very difficult, it'll allow you to get through it, a little easier, just accepting that they are there and it's okay that they're there. So.
Got it. Yeah, no, I understand it. I think that like it kind of goes along the line of what's the difference between pain and suffering, right? Like pain is a natural thing that we're all going to feel throughout our lives. Like you said, like we don't want to necessarily feel pain, but like life is full of, as everyone in Health by Ratio has heard, ebbs and flows. Like everything in life has ebbs and flows. Our energy levels have ebbs and flows. Our immune system has ebbs and flows. Our year, like in like our work versus play, has
Yep.
ebbs and flows,
Yep.
and especially our health and our fitness. Like you could be the healthiest person on earth. If you're trying to get more fit, you're going to have ebbs and flows. One day you're going to be strong as an ox and fast as a cheetah and all that good stuff. And the next day you're going to be sore and beat up because you push your body like crazy. And then it'll repair, get stronger. And a couple days later, you're going to be strong as an ox again and fast as a cheetah. And like, there's natural just ebbs and flows that come into play. The suffering, though, is not accepting the pain. It's fighting it's the mental fight of the pain of being like, I don't want this pain. We don't, like, obviously I don't think we necessarily want pain all the time. Certain pain, we might be masochists in certain ways. We might actually enjoy it in some ways, but like in general, we don't want the pain. It's more that but if we can accept that it's like a natural part of our goals that we're striving for, we don't have to create the suffering that perpetuates from the pain that we're feeling. We don't have to stack on and build on the pain more so, right?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's the same whether you're talking a physical injury or an emotional or psychological issue. So.
And Anna asked a question here about basically dealing with, and this is maybe a different tangent that could be really powerful for a lot of people, is the kind of stress response to diagnoses that we get. I think so many doctors and orthopods are brilliant at what they do, but unfortunately not all have the background and compassion and the understanding of the way they deliver a diagnosis can make all the difference in the world in how someone responds to that thing. Like if someone like Anna's giving the example of being told that she has arthritis, as like seeing that there's arthritis throughout her spine. And plenty of people are told that they have arthritis all over. And it's made to seem like, well, this is just the beginning of the end. Now you got arthritis. It's just going to get worse. So good luck. And here's a medication for it. Versus having a thing of like, all right, this is where the body's at. And this is what it's going through right now. This is how, like, these are the avenues that you can do to mitigate this and even improve your body a little bit. And it's like it has to, that arthritis is just one diagnosis, but like even an ACL tear, like they like some people can be like, this is an ACL tear. We're going to go through X, Y, and Z steps, and in the next like 6 to 9 months, you can be back at your sport. And other doctors are going to be like, this is an ACL tear. This is super serious. Like some people never play again after this. So I don't know how you're like. We're going to do our best, but like this is a really serious injury. It's all in the delivery of how people respond. So I'm curious, like from your perspective, when someone gets kind of those negative diagnoses potentially that can mess with us, or like any thoughts on how to bounce back from that mental emotional response from people that we respect, like our doctors and orthopods, or people we respect that but we still want to be healthy, we still want to be able to improve.
Yeah. So I sincerely relate to that issue, because I was just into the doctor probably a month ago now to get a new prescription for my anxiety medication, and the doctor informed me so nicely that I was on the fast track for multiple total knee surgeries due to my background with my knees. It was a totally obviously unrelated instance. I was talking about my anxiety, and I would now feel better than, probably before I even hurt my knee. So it just kind of made me smile. But what I can say is generally, probably most of the people you deal with, I would say in the group, are competitive to some degree, whether that's, everyone who is active has some level of competitiveness. And I would just say, obviously, you can still respect someone and disagree with their prognosis on your situation. There's no death sentence for our arthritis, or because I supposedly have severe arthritis already as well, and I like to go out and do what I can, obviously do it in a smart way, but challenge that and get better a little bit by every day through those, again, small wins. So I would say you can be respectful and still respect them, but you can also set yourself up to challenge what they are saying to you as well.
So from your perspective there, to like get that challenge, do you recommend that as like maybe getting a second opinion of from somebody else, and like are there things that I can actively do with this, or are there certain resources that maybe someone should be looking to like kind of get that confidence that like, well, no, your body can still heal, it still has the potential?
Yeah. So I think second opinions are always a good idea. I would never, discourage that, but also I would offer a word of caution, I guess, as well. Just with the current medical system as a whole right now, unfortunately, we do a lot of, there's not a lot of prevention. It's more of after the fact. Here's, medication, here's surgery, here's, much more extreme things. So I would say, obviously, be wary of that, but a second opinion is always warranted in my thoughts.
I agree. I think what you said in terms of that description of current medical system is like, for good, bad, or indifferent.
Yep.
It's set up as a reaction over prevention.
Yep.
And often also, and like this is understandable, like orthopedics, as well as like general practitioners, chiropractors, like all of these different professions have focus, and it's extensive. Like you have to go through a boat ton of schooling to get that background. Mm-hmm. But those backgrounds don't include like functional and corrective rehab. Like that's not part of their schooling. Yeah. And so they see the people that they see day in and day out are people like you just said that it's a reaction to an injury. So that their demographic, the people that they see all the time, are people that have been injured or re-injured. And so from their point of view is everyone's getting injured and re-injured. So you got this injury, chances are you're going to need knee replacement, because guess what? All the people that I connect with that need replacements had that injury before.
Yep.
So, but they don't see the people that didn't need the knee replacement, the people that tore their ACL that never needed a knee replacement, because guess what? They didn't need to go to the doctor. They didn't have to get it checked up on.
Mm-hmm.
So there's very much a bias from the people that they're exposed to, thinking that, hey, this is the norm. This is what's you have arthritis in your back. Guess what? Everyone that I connect with that has an arthritic back, you're SOL. This is what you're going to have to deal with, blah, blah, blah. But they don't connect with the people that have arthritis in their back that live totally functionally healthy day in and day out, because it's not a problem for them. Yep. So yep. I think I like your point of being like, be a little bit wary of a second opinion. Maybe a better way of putting it is get a second opinion from maybe somebody who has the expertise in what you're looking for. Like like if you're looking to rehabilitate and maintain long-term health, look for the practitioners that have that background. And a surgeon, as incredible and talented as that is, that's not necessarily their background. Or a general practitioner, that's as extensive as they have to be in their knowledge of the body, that's not really their form of expertise.
Yeah, exactly. It's like going to a car shop to get your wife flowers or something. You wouldn't do that. So at least I hope you wouldn't try that. So
yeah, I well put. I like that. So I loved your kind of quick breakdown of the Jeff said here, treat the person, not the disease. Yeah, very, very much so. If we, that's another factor, another focus kind of, we would say in general medical I would say Western medicine is often treating the disease and not the person and what's causing the disease. And that's when you treat the person and the lifestyle that they're living in, the movement patterns that they have, or the nutritional choices, the mental emotional practices, their quality of sleep, all those different factors. That's what gives people the environment to heal naturally, and as opposed to treating the disease where we might be having to take a medication or things like that. And I think, Keegan, you would agree with me on this. I don't want to poo-poo all forms of treating disease. Like there's certain diseases, like, yeah, the medication's needed. That's a facet, or surgery to a certain degree at a certain level is needed. That has to happen at certain stages. It's just it's not always the end all be all.
Yeah, I've talked with loads of people who have had like total knee surgeries, and they had a lot of pain before, and then afterward they didn't. So I would never. Again, I could never claim to have the expertise or be able to perform a surgery or anything like that. But I'm saying it's not always the best answer, as I think we can all agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think I like, I want to give you an opportunity, because you on your experience, and it sounds like this is much more extensive than just ACL, but like, from your experience and what your expertise are, if people are looking to get more into this kind of mental, emotional aspect of health, and especially as it pertains to injury and returning to activities and that kind of thing, you have a book, Torn, correct?
Yep. I have a book called Torn: Overcoming the Psychological Challenges Post ACL Injury, and I'm happy and frustrated with myself that that's how I named it. Because yes, it's my passion is helping people like myself get out of situations like I was in. And I've always, heavily identified with people who have torn their ACL. That being said, the book just goes through my life as an athlete, through high school, again, struggling with mental health, through both ACL injuries. And I'd like to say that, I came upon, acceptance and commitment therapy, just due to the ACL injuries. But, I am not that quick a learner. I joke with, my previous teachers and mentors that I actually learned more through trauma. So I didn't come upon that type of therapy until I was in a relationship with who I would find out would be a very severe alcoholic. And I endured a lot of emotional abuse that kind of culminated in me being suicidal for a time. So I knew, at that point that I needed to find something to help me get out of where I was. And I, got out of the relationship, started going to therapy, and I actually got more frustrated because CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy just wasn't for me. I couldn't, my brain couldn't wrap around it. And luckily, I'm one of those people that if I don't know something, I scour the internet, and I found acceptance and commitment therapy. Was able to get healthy due to the incremental steps that you can take out of a dark place using psychological flexibility. And I realized after the fact that this would have been extremely beneficial for me as I was going through the rehabilitation process when I was using substances and other things like that to cope without my main coping mechanism of sport. So
Got it. Nice. And is that like that book? I believe it's on Amazon. Are there other places that people can grab that?
yeah, you can go to my website. It's the acltherapist.com or my first name, last name.com, but I won't make you try to remember that. So the acltherapist.com is probably the easiest way to get there.
Got it. Okay, cool. Nice. From my interpretation is like it's kind of like when you were commenting on the title of the book. It's kind of like the Inner Game of Tennis, which is like a book on mindfulness while playing sport, like being in the zone. And the example is tennis, but it's really about any activity. Like it could be life. So it's one of those things that this is a book that uses ACL injuries as an example, and obviously opening up about beyond that, your own personal traumas that you've been exposed to, and how to implement these mindfulness practices and like with these as an example, but practiced in a multitude of ways for a variety of people, right?
Yeah, so it's essentially like a 10,000-foot overview of how ACT or acceptance and commitment therapy could be used in a wide variety of settings. And it's not so much of a how-to because it's very nuanced, obviously, from person to person. But it's kind of your introduction.
Got it. Very nice. Well, very cool. Keegan, thank you so much for hopping on with me here. Like I said, everybody in the group, thank you for those that have been on live and participating and asking questions. If you guys watch this replay, feel free to ask us questions. I'll be monitoring the chats. If it's anything that I want to have Keegan specifically respond to, he's in our group. I can point him to your guys' comments, and he can get back to you and all that good stuff. And again, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more in the future. So.
I look forward to it. Jana just piped in at the end here. Basically just Jana is does amazing work on mindfulness. Like this is something like for her, she's dealt with sciatica for a long time, and she's a huge proponent of mindfulness practices. She's I commend her on it in more than one way. So she just is thanking you for opening up, and this is a topic that really resonates with her. So yeah, thanks, Jana.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All righty, guys. We will catch you next time. And again, thank you. Talk soon.